Hey, welcome to the Restaurant Coach Podcast. It is the cure for the common restaurant. I am so honored today. Talk about a blast from the past. Gregg Brickman, who is now the corporate chef for Henny Penny. But Greg and I have a past together, don't we, Greg?
Yes, we do.
We do. We worked together at Wolfgang Puck. And it's been quite a few years since I've seen you. I left the company, I think 2004 or something like that, 2005.
That's right.
And then you stayed with the company for 13 years, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's about right. Yeah, it was a great experience.
The last I saw you at Wolf, the last I knew you were at the Georgia Aquarium.
Yeah, I opened up the Georgia Aquarium, and then after you left, I became the regional executive chef for the whole East Coast.
Damn, that could have been me. Shit.
That could have been you. All that and more.
Damn, that could have been mine. That could have been my empire. No.
Yeah.
So then after, and we had great times at Wolfgang Puck. I know the thing I probably loved the most, and even though it was a lot of work, but I loved doing the Academy Awards.
That was a lot of fun. It was one of those weeks,
days, dude.
Oh, I was going to say, it's one of those weeks where you just don't sleep. And the funny thing is, the Academy Awards was the easiest part of the whole week. It was everything else leading up to it. And then the very next day, we had
all the parties, all the prep. Oh, man. I remember they would get like a hotel room next door, and we would take shifts going to sleep for a few hours.
It literally 2 hours at a time, if you actually did it. Some people went to the green room and passed out there.
Mm-hmm. And then at the end, and here's the best thing, though. I tell you, Wolf knows how to throw a party. So at the end of the Academy Awards, after the Governor's Ball, he had a huge party for everybody.
We went down to Brasserie Vert downstairs, and we were there. Holy smokes. I mean, we were probably there till 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning.
I remember the first time I was in Chicago at the time. I was at the MCA in Chicago the first time I went to the Academy Awards. And I remember we got so messed up at the after party. I don't remember going back to the hotel. I don't remember getting in the limo to go to the airport. I don't even remember getting on the plane. I remember about waking up halfway back to Chicago, and I was with Michael Washer. Remember Michael Washer, the pastry chef? Yeah. And I was sitting next to Washer, and I'm like, where the hell are we? He goes, man, we're like halfway back to Chicago. He goes, yeah. I go, I don't even remember getting on the plane. He goes, I thought there was something weird about you. All you had was your sunglasses on. You didn't say anything. You just kind of head down and walked on the plane. That was crazy. Yeah. But the good days. And so now you've had a couple changes.
I have.
You left Wolf, and then where'd you go?
I went to work with HOA Brands, which is Hooters of America and Hoots Hoots Wings. Mm-hmm. And I was with them for 8.5 years.
Wow.
And then COVID hit, and everybody was let go, and I was doing some consulting, and then I got picked up by a great company, Henny Penny, which is based out of Eaton, Ohio, which is on the equipment side. And the reason why I knew them is because I used to purchase some stuff. With HOA Brands from them, and I liked them, and I guess they liked me too, and we got a connection.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And
so now what's your job's a little more kind of routine, or what are you doing now?
That's a great question. I'm trying to figure that out every single day.
I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, but it's really fluid, and I'm doing a lot of the stuff I was doing before when I was with HOA Brands, and that's menu development and product ideation, but I'm doing it now in partnership or in tandem with other restaurants, whether it's large chains or whatever, and helping them find solutions for their menu and what would work best, what equipment would work best with them. And, it's a little bit of the best of both worlds. I get to create menus and work with different chefs, but then I don't have to worry about it if it doesn't go well.
It's all yours now. Wipe your hands and walk away. It's your menu now, man. Have fun with that.
But it's been really it's been interesting and exciting, and I kind of reinvented myself after I was with Wolfgang, because going from fine dining and all the heavy catering to doing fast casual, it was really a big switch, and it probably took me a solid year and a half to get my legs underneath me, because you and we came from a world where it was Yes Chef, and that was it. And now Yeah, and then I was in a world where, I said, let's put green onions on. And it was like, why? What do you mean, why? It's because this is what I want to do. And the thought process, well, the consumer's not going to buy into it. You're not going to get credit from it. And I had to learn a different language, and I took some courses to get some food science under my belt, and to understand the difference between making a sauce for 1,000 people at the Academy Awards versus making a sauce for 1,000-gallon or a 10,000-gallon run.
Right.
It's just a different animal, and I had to reinvent myself for that, and I'm doing it again with Henny Penny, and it's been great. It's it's a solid company, and they're really incredibly nice, and it's interesting. They're allowing me to do my thing, and they're trusting me and my experience to lead them, and then for the next round, so to speak.
That's awesome. But life is like that, man. About reinventing yourself all the time. And COVID did that to so many restaurants too. So let me kind of lead into that. COVID really shook the industry upside down. What do you think? What is maybe your take on the industry as it stands today?
I think it depends on what part of the industry you're in. If you're in fast casual or something that's not really fine dining, I think you're doing better than you were before. People are coming in, and their sales are up, and they're doing better than they've ever done. I mean, look at Wingstop. Wingstop has gone through the roof. I think they had one of their best years during COVID.
Oh, wow.
And then you look at other restaurants where you have the fine dining, but they've had to readjust themselves or reinvent themselves. And I know we keep on saying that word, but it's, they can't get staff. People are afraid to come in. And it's just not the same. And now even more so, prices are going up, and there's a level of concern with, products being available and getting consistent products to the restaurant day in and day out. I mean, look at wing prices or look at oil prices going through the roof.
Exactly. So, leadership is one of the things I think really helps when people have something, turning the world upside down. We always refer to our leaders, look to leaders, and I always say a lot of restaurant, and we were both very lucky to work with some amazing people at Wolfgang Puck. That's one of the things I always credit Wolf was that he hired really, really good people and let them do what they do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Incredible people. If you look at it, Matt, Lee, all these people, Sherry Yard. I mean, everybody just, they led by example, and I don't think I ever went to a day to work where they weren't the first ones there and the last ones out.
Exactly. No, they always were.
And you strive for that. And even when I got my own property, when I was with Wolfgang, I continue to do that. I would make sure it was almost like a badge of honor to be there first and to be the last one out. And you just created that atmosphere. It's more of a younger man's game. I mean, granted, Wolfgang is like 150 years old now, but he's saying he's going to hear this and yell at me, but but he's still killing it.
He's still killing it.
He's still killing it. Everything he touches, it's just great. And, but again, going back to what you said, he surrounds himself with great people, and he allows them to do their work, and he kind of listens to what they have to say and guides them in the direction that he thinks it should go.
I always say that one of the things I took away from my time at Wolfgang Puck was that you knew where the line in the sand was. You knew what the standards was, and you knew what the penalty was if you crossed the line.
Yes.
But he knew exactly what the standards was. It was not open for negotiation. I used to tell people, like, one of the things I tell people all the time nowadays is, like, one of the things, you and I have made those recipes at Wolfgang Puck thousands of times, the TBG, right? How many times do you think you made TBG, dude?
Yeah, millions. The chicken sauce, the TBG,
what was the rule? What was the rule? You always had the recipe card in front of you.
Every single time. It's funny you say that. I literally, so I have a person that works for me up in Eaton, Ohio, and I was going through some things with her, and she's like, well, I can remember the recipe. I said, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
It's not a point of doing it. Yes, you can remember it, but there's going to be that one time that you have 3 or 4 things going on, and you're going to forget that one ingredient, and it's going to be different. And I don't think she believed me, but I'm going to have her listen to this, and she'll understand that it's true. You
always have the recipe card.
You always have your recipe cards, and I still have. It's funny. The first restaurant I really worked in up in Boston, Massachusetts, Mistral. Jamie Mamano, he used to bang that into my head too, and I think literally he used to bang it into my head. But I still have my recipe cards back then, and that was in the late '90s. I still have every one of my recipe cards. I don't think I've gotten rid of any of them. Yeah,
I mean, when you're trained like that, it becomes a habit. See, I think most restaurants, the problem they have is they have bad habits. And I have a sign, I have a poster here in my office wall that says, "Your restaurant is a reflection of your habits."
It's a great sign.
Yeah. And I tell people too, it's like, the thing I took away from having recipe cards is that it wasn't that you didn't know the recipe by heart. It was that you are setting the example for the other cooks in the kitchen.
Sure.
Yeah. And if they see you, everyone wants to be like this, everyone wants to be like the chef, right?
Right. Yeah.
He's not using a recipe card. I want to be like him.
Yep. I mean, every single time. So you would set, especially for the saucier, you write it on the prep list what sauces had to be made, and the expectation was they have those recipe cards with them, and they're making it. And sure enough, when they're making 5 or 6 sauces at once, because you really don't have the time to do one at a time, you have to multitask and do a whole bunch of them. Mm-hmm. You need that, because you're going to eventually, why put yourself in a position to slip? You want to put yourself in a position to be successful. And if it's the small little steps, I think that makes sense.
Perfect. Yeah. So what do you think is the number one trait a leaders need to have in restaurants?
Wow, that's a great question. Patience and understanding.
Oh, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I get to say, learning, and I learned that the hard way. There was a time, and towards the end of my time when I was with Wolfgang, I was the angry chef, and I didn't have the patience and understanding. I put it all on myself, 100%, totally on me. I just set the standards for everything so high, and it was unrealistic. Yeah. And when you're doing parties, you remember what we used to do? We used to do parties with 4,000 or 5,000 people. We had that one party at the aquarium. It was between 3 properties. It was 10,000 people, and I was in a golf cart the whole time, running around to the 8 different kitchens. And you need to have a level of understanding that you don't know what the other person's going through or what they're working on, and you can't just assume that their last mistake is the consistent error. And you try to understand the root of the problem before you jump on it. And that's, I think during my time, I've learned to pause, step back for a second, and look at the whole situation and see if it's really as bad as it really is, as I'm making it out to be, versus is it only going to be noticeable to me?
Yeah. It's funny you say that. You pause and step back. I developed a phrase. I think I developed it when I worked for Wolf. Is that I have this thing I say to myself: pause and process.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly the same thing, and that's really. And I got that from working there, because many times I would react to what I thought was happening, but what I thought was happening isn't the actual reality of it.
No, that's the truth. That's so true. So I know this is going to be probably you're going to have to really search the recesses of your mind for this. What's the best meal you ever had?
Wow. The best meal I ever had. I think one of the most memorable meals is, working with Wolf and going. He was Wolf, Matt, myself, Sherry Yard, my wife. We went out to Vienna to do the Austrian wine consulate dinner, and he took us to Steinreck, I think I pronounced it right. It was up in the mountains, and that was spectacular. That was probably one of the best dining experiences.
Oh wow!
But probably my favorite meals is, and this sounds cliche, but usually when my mother used to cook for me when I was a kid. I used to love that. And I'm thankful she's still alive. And whenever I go up there, both my parents are around. She still cooks those meals. She makes like a orange marmalade chicken, and it's fun. We sit there and just eat and talk and do whatever, and that's stuff I enjoy.
What was your favorite thing off the Wolfgang menus?
Um,
I'll tell you, my guilty secret. I'll tell everybody, my guilty secret is that freaking quinoa salad, man. Fucking love that thing.
Really? So
I eat that thing every day, I think.
The smoked salmon pizza, or the Asian beef salad that had the brown velvet on it.
Mm-hmm.
That thing was fantastic. I could eat that every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the smoked salmon pizza, for sure.
That for sure. That was like my favorite.
And then you got to think about too the tuna cones. You can pop them in like M&Ms.
Oh yeah, the tuna cones, the miso tuna cones. Those
too. Yeah.
I forgot about those. Those things were awesome too. That was a great.
I made so many of those.
Both of us, man. Thousands.
Yeah.
I remember just one day, I think I made 1,000 pizzas myself for a party.
If you think about it, Spago is really just a glorified pizza shop.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, that's what they have. And it's pizzas, and it's great pizzas. And he's so smart at what he does.
He's so smart.
Yeah.
I always say working for him was like getting a PhD in branding.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It really was. I mean,
it was
a lot of people say, like my restaurant coach brand, man, your restaurant coach brand's really tight. Who did that for you? I said, I did it myself. How did you learn that? I said, I just studied the best, and I worked with the best, and and I just took it out of the Wolfgang Puck branding playbook.
Yeah. Yeah, he had it down. I mean, he still does. I mean, you think about it. I mean, his name's everywhere. It's
everything he touches turns to gold, man.
It really, even when it doesn't, and something doesn't go well, he gets out in a timely manner where it's not going to hurt him. And he's the one who taught me, and it was him and Matt, where it's okay to fail. It's just learning from your mistakes and moving on from it, and doing it different the next time you do it.
Yeah. I mean, he got out of Eureka.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that restaurant in Seattle? Abichin?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Remember, he got out of that one fast too. When they started getting some negative press, he's like, I'm out.
I'm out. I mean, and seriously, even in Chicago, he had Spago in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's not afraid. Not everything he's done has been perfect, but he's been smart about the saying, hey, it's time to get out.
Time to get out. Time to get out. Right. So, I mean, and I know we've mentioned some of these people already, like, Matt and Lee and stuff like that, but, who are some of your mentors?
Oh, for sure. Matt Benzavanga.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every day.
I'm so sad he passed away, man. I mean, God, talk about not only a super, super talented chef, but just a badass human being. I mean,
seriously was. I mean, he was the hardest working, the hardest playing. Even when it was at its worst, he was at his best. He's one of those few people that to this day, I still get emails or texts or see things online. What would Matt do? And it's it's true. I mean, I live by what he would try to do every day. Exactly. It's important to me to think that he's looking down or looking up. Who knows where Matt is, but just to try to make him laugh, because that used to be the best part of my day, is making him laugh.
So nowadays people talk about in the restaurant industry labor crisis, right? It's hard to find people. What do you think the real problem is? Do you think we ever really have a labor crisis, or do you think we have an industry kind of stereotype crisis?
I think a lot of it, I'm going to say it's a little bit of both. I mean, you and I both know there's been so much, I'm not sure the best way to say it, but there's always been that attitude where you're replaceable.
Exactly.
And you got to come in, you got to, and granted, we know it's long, hard, brutal hours, but, there really hasn't been that sense of appreciation for that. And I think people are just tired of it and say, you know what, I don't have to kill myself for it, and I can do something on my own, whether it's, doing a ghost kitchen or a pop-up kitchen or some sort of virtual restaurant in a small space for very little money, and you do something differently. And I think restaurants that are embracing that appreciation for their staff, I think they're still doing okay. I think it's where you have to understand that, it's not okay any longer to pay somebody, what they were getting paid and expect them to work as hard and as long as they were.
Very true. Very, very true. Yeah, I think the restaurateurs have done this themselves, over the years. We've become a stereotype, I guess. We've become our own meme.
Yeah, well, it's true. Yeah, and we're our own worst enemy, because what will happen is we'll do it again.
All right, this next question is a really good one, and I know you're gonna have some fun with this one. If you came with a warning label, what would yours say?
If I came with a warning label, what we had? Do not stir.
Do not shake.
Yeah, don't poke the bear. I think that
would be a good one. Yeah, don't poke the bear.
Don't poke the bear. Yeah. It's funny. It's been one of something I can't. I mean, you know me. I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6'4", 290 pounds. I'm not a small person. And so even when I just speak normally to somebody, people have always taken it as like, why is Gregg so aggressive? And I'm like, it doesn't help that I'm from Boston and I'm a smart ass. But
it does help, actually.
Yeah. People just look at it, and so that's, yeah.
I talk about one of the things I talk about a lot too is perks, and make sure you're rewarding your team, appreciating your team, rewarding your team. And I always go back to, I said, one of the cool perks I remember working out and we worked at, Wolfgang Puck Catering in LA. Is remember we got to go to a Clippers game and watch the Celtics. Oh, no, it wasn't the Clippers. It was a Lakers game versus the Celtics. We got to sit in a private box. Remember?
Yeah, that was great.
That was awesome. That was like
such a that's right. I forgot about that too.
Yeah, I remember that.
We drank a little bit that night too.
Yeah, it was awesome. They had a private box up there.
Yeah, working with Wolf, you had a lot of perks.
Yeah, a lot of perks.
We had a lot of great perks. And when I was working with HOA brands, I had a lot of perks. I didn't realize the
What's the perk you had there? What's the perk you had there that?
I would have vendors wanting to take me out to. I've gone to the Masters, to Super Bowls,
cool.
World Series games. I mean, pretty much anything. One of the, because you got to think all the beer vendors sponsor all this stuff, they get all these tickets, and they'd want to. Hey, let's go to the Super Bowl. Okay, who's going to say no?
Super Bowl, man.
What's that?
Who's going to say no to the Super Bowl?
Seriously.
Especially if I was the Patriots when you were there.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. So it was always a good situation. Although it was tough the one year when we were in Atlanta and we kind of blew Atlanta out, and that was rough going back to work the next day.
That's tough. We were talking smack about Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good perks, and now I'm finding the good perks on the other side too. And I'm with the going on the equipment side. I'm going to all these different conferences, like going to the Arby's conference, the Buffalo Wild Wings conference. The company that I work for is really great, and going to say, hey, go to different seminars. So I'm actually going to the Create seminar next week, and my corporate chef at the Eaton facility, I'm sending him out to flavors at the CIA. So, we do a lot of good things like that, and it's important to, just to see stuff. Because when you get stuck in your little corner of the world, you miss a lot of what's happening outside, and there's really no other way of doing it unless you travel and you go to these places. And now that places are actually opening up a little bit, it's even nicer.
I love it that they're opening back up. Yeah, I know. I think the first time I got out was I just spoke at Nightclub Bar Show in Vegas, and then in a couple weeks I'm going to the Mertech Executive Summit in Orlando to speak, to be the keynote. So it's nice to be able to get back out there. And
it really is.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, I love it. I missed it. You don't realize how much you missed it until you have to go back out.
Right. Yeah. And I love my kids. I love being in my house, but I think they would like me more if I wasn't here so much.
It's true. I know that. I know my girlfriend feels that way. I think she appreciates me more when I come back from a trip.
Yeah. They're always grateful to see me, but they're really happy to watch me go.
Yeah. They're really happy to watch me go. She's really happy sometimes. So, and you and I both come from, and we also know the impact and influence a culture has on a restaurant. What do you think is the key to creating a really, really great culture?
Kind of going back to what I said before, is listening and understanding and having the ability to pause and see what other positions other people are in. I think it's also important for the top leaders to work as hard or harder than the people beneath them or who they're working with. And I think that's important. I think people, if you're an employee and you're watching your boss hump it, you kind of want to do the same. You don't want to let that person down.
Right.
I think we've kind of flipped the script a little bit with management, where from what I've seen, management nowadays isn't so much about pointing and going to do as much as they are actually physically doing it and leading by example. At least that's what I've seen. I'm not sure if that's the case everywhere, but that's what I've seen. And it's different from in the past where you have the clipboard managers and they just, pointing orders. Yeah. And I think that creates an atmosphere where people want to do more, or at least be part of it. And something that I've always done is, if you do the same thing over and over again every single day, you get bored. And working in the restaurant industry, there's so much to learn. I mean, you and I both know that it's never ending. You can always learn something new. And if you're able to bring somebody in to do a demo, to show your staff how to do something that they weren't used to doing in the past, I think that goes a long way, and it gives them reasons to stay, because once they've learned everything that you're there to show them, well, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Growth, man. Everyone needs growth.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to grow. Everyone does. Yeah. That's a huge thing. Yeah. I think a lot of restaurant cultures miss that. They have training cultures where they train on the front end. They only have learning cultures where they're constantly trying to teach people and learn and improve. That's one thing I have to say. Working at Wolf was huge. Like going to work, especially with Lee, who had the most amazing palate I've ever seen in my life.
Seriously, right?
Seriously, the most amazing palate I've ever seen in my life.
How does that happen? I mean, he could taste something and dissect it.
Dude, it knew exactly what it had and what it didn't have, what it was missing.
Yeah. And I made the mistake once of using the wrong soy sauce in something. And I'm thinking, there's no way. It was an off-brand. It was supposed to be Kikkoman, and it was an off-brand. And he knew. I'm like, how the hell is that possible?
His palate was super fine. I always tell the story. I call it the mash. I have a little a thing I talk about. I call it the mashed potato manifesto. We were doing a tasting for the Walker Art Museum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he told me, hey, make some mashed potatoes. I make mashed potatoes. He comes back, overcooked. Do them again. So I went back, made mashed potatoes again, and come back, undercooked. Do them again. 7 times, dude.
No shit.
7 times. But and at first, the first couple times, all right, he just fucking with me, right?
Which he could have been.
He could have been, but he wasn't. I tasted him, and he was right. But then I realized, what he was teaching me? He was teaching me to respect the product.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
It's a huge thing with him. Respect the product, man. Respect it just like you respect yourself.
Yeah.
Don't just half-ass put shit together.
Right. And I can give a story similar to that where we were doing, we were in Brasserie Vert, and I was making pasta, and, all the handmade agnolottis, and I just kind of threw them inside the container, and they clumped together, and he waited till after the shift, and he says, all right, tomorrow you're making the agnolottis. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think it was a big deal until I actually made the agnolottis. And when you have to make it, it just so happens we were also making it for a catering party. So I made agnolottis for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And realizing how much work goes into each one of those and how delicate it is between, you think about it, you make the mousse, you make the pasta, and then you're actually forming it all together. And how much respect you have to have for it. It changed my outlook on how I treat everything. And it's really important it's a great lesson. That's a great lesson to learn.
Yeah. No, I mean, some of the most foundational stuff that I've learned and some of the best stuff I ever learned was working there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your favorite interview question?
What's my favorite interview question? Wow. I should have been more prepared for that. I don't know. What have you gotten in the past for that answer?
I get all kinds of ones. A lot of people ask him, they want to know, like, again, what's your favorite meal? Tell me about, most of the crazy dining experience you've ever had, the best dining experience you've ever had. My favorite interview question is I love to ask people, do you respect yourself? Now, it's kind of a double-edged sword because everyone will say, yeah, of course I respect myself. And then the follow-up question is, give me some examples of how you respect yourself. Because I want to see if they actually set boundaries, if they actually do some self-care, you take care of yourself, you watch what you eat, you work out, you meditate, whatever you do you journal. I want to see that they actually know what self-care is.
Really? Wow. So that's a great one. I like that. And I know I kind of flipped the script on you by asking you the same question. I don't know.
See, that's smart right there, dude.
I'm not sure if I have a favorite interview question. I think I'm like anybody else. I like when you have the opportunity to talk about yourself. I think people generally like doing that. And so especially when you and I go back, and I enjoy speaking with you. I've always enjoyed talking with you. It's pretty easy. So this is, I would say this whole process so far has been enjoyable, but come back to me later on in the end and ask me that question again.
All right, cool. All right. So how do you deal with stress though?
In a lot of different ways. And like I said before, when I was with my final time, my last couple of years at Wolfgang, I was letting the stress get to me. I became almost angry, and I didn't like who I was becoming. And I was doing meditation a lot, and my wife, God love her, she sent me to a doctor to get ADHD and anxiety medicine, and I didn't like the way that made me feel. I believe that kind of just puts a Band-Aid on the situation and start really solving it.
You're true. That's true.
And so I really started doing a lot of other things. After right before Maddie passed away, I got into boxing.
Did you really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So I've been boxing for about 4.5, 5 years. I had one amateur fight.
Did you really? That's cool.
I did. It was in front of 1,000 people. And,
wow.
Yeah, it was great. I knocked the guy down 4 times. 3 of them was legit. One of them I kind of pushed him. But I won. It was great. And so I probably go there I'd like to go there more, but I'm probably there 2 times a week. And that's great. And I really enjoy that because the camaraderie, the guys, granted I'm 50 and these guys are 22 years old, and I'm fighting with kids who are my size, and they just don't get tired, which is great. But what I enjoy is they back up for me sometimes. So it's, that's fun. And I'm lucky that I have a great family. So I like spending time with my kids, although I don't think they like spending time with me. They're 12 and 14. So I think they're at the age. Yeah, they're at the age where everything dad does isn't that cool. But but this is really cool. My oldest daughter, she cured eggs yesterday, and she cured eggs in soy and marin, and then she popped it over rice. And I was like, wow, good for you. And as a 14-year-old, I'm thinking that's pretty good. Good for her. So she's creative and doing stuff. So that's how I deal with stress, is stuff with my family and going to the gym or boxing. I just hanging out. I really like going boxing.
That's cool. Yeah, it's really cool when your kids like pick up the stuff, without you really pushing them. Like my son just sent me a picture yesterday. He made his own lunch. Now he's in college. He goes to Michigan State.
He's 35. He made his own
Michigan State. But he's got a little apartment up in in Lansing, and he sent me this little picture of this little pork bowl he did, pork rice bowl, and he did his own pickled cucumbers.
Oh, that's great.
Like, that's pretty cool. I was impressed. Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Yeah, it's exciting. It's funny. The more you push, the less they're going to want to do it.
Exactly.
So, it's funny. One of the first things they ever learned was I taught them how to make schnitzel, and that's That's all he ate for months. They just every single time we have to make more, and that's all he wanted to make.
What was that dessert Wolf used to do? The Kaiserschmarren?
Kaiserschmarren, which
oh my god, that thing was
it was fantastic. I could never make it though.
It was awesome. I love that thing.
Yeah. He had great food, and it was funny. All the food that was the best was the simplest.
Is it stuff off his childhood? Remember Wolfgang's childhood memories?
Yeah.
I was the stuff that was like I love that stuff too. The schnitzel, Kaiserschmarren, all that stuff was like awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So think back to when you were a little kid. I know this might be a stretch for you, my friend, but when you were a little kid, and think back, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I when I was 12 years old, I wanted to be a chef.
Did you really? That's amazing.
My first job, I was 13, and I got a job as a dishwasher for a caterer, and I worked with that caterer all the way through college.
Did you really? That's really cool.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to work in restaurants. I always wanted to work in restaurants. I think that's it. That's it. That's really all. I really just wanted to go any place that could feed me.
Yeah, really. I realized that would be a good career.
Yeah.
I
could eat and I can cook. That's perfect. Yeah. Cool. That's pretty much all I've ever thought about doing.
What's a quote you kind of live by?
Do what you love and love what you do.
There you go. And if people need to contact you, how could they get a hold of you?
Well, there you go. gbrickman@hennypenny.com.
Talk about timing, right?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Couldn't have planned that any better.
I'm telling you, man. It's like I've done this before.
Once or twice.
A couple times. Oh, hey, man, I want to say thanks for jumping on the call today. Thanks for jumping on the podcast. It's so good to talk to you again, my friend.
Yeah.
We got to be in touch more, man.
I would actually enjoy that. I would enjoy that a lot. I'm glad to see you're doing well, and it's great to catch up, and it's fun to listen to the stories that we used to do, and I'm glad we didn't talk about too much of the trouble we used to get in.
Oh my God! We could tell some really good stories. We should do a tell-all book.
Could you imagine what that tell-all book was?
Oh my God!
The Wolfgang years.
Seriously, behind the scenes,
behind the scenes, we can show an actual behind the scenes versus what was done at the on the HBO thing.
No shit, yeah. It would be like the down and dirty version. Yeah, this would be the R-rated version for sure.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
I got some stories about Matt. Oh my God, some crazy stories with Matt. Crazy stories with Lee too, and he loves that Maker's Mark. Remember?
He does.
Oh, he loves Maker's Mark. He does. Lee's gonna call us right now, and he's gonna go, "What the fuck you guys doing?"
I know. Hey guy.
Hey guy.
Hey guy. Hey guy. Hey, I invented water. Hey guy.
Yeah. Hey, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
hey, true. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you being on the call today. Thanks for taking the time out, and thanks for sharing your insights for people in the industry. Because I always like bringing on people like you to have some different insights and just show that the restaurant industry is a great career if you really you dedicate yourself to it and you basically have some solid core values and really follow a kind of a code of ethics.
That's great. Well, Donald, it's a pleasure seeing you. I'm glad you're doing well.
Awesome.
And let's stay in touch.
Thank you, my friend.
All right.